The art of wood bending crafting the ships of empire in 18th century Deptford Yard. In the bustling Deptford Yard of the 18th century, a remarkable transformation was happening, not just in terms of ship design, but in the skills and processes that underpinned England's naval dominance. Wood bending, an ancient technique, was refined and mastered here, crucial for crafting the majestic warships that would carry the British Empire across the globe. This narrative is sponsored by Polly Speaks For You. The creator of Polly Speaks For You has always been passionate about empowering individuals, especially those with disabilities or learning challenges, through text-to-speech and voice recognition technology. Polly Speaks For You isn't just a tool. It's a bridge for people to communicate and interact with the world in a meaningful way. By blending historical storytelling with cutting-edge tech, the creator showcases how powerful a voice can be, whether telling your own story or preserving history. So hit that like, share, and subscribe button and help this channel grow. Now back to the story. The Yard, a place of innovation. The Deptford Yard, located on the banks of the Thames, was one of England's most important shipyards, buzzing with activity as shipwrights, carpenters, and laborers worked tirelessly. It was a center of innovation, where craftsmanship met the demands of a growing empire. The rhythmic sounds of hammers, saws, and steam could be heard alongside the shouts of foremen overseeing teams of men working in synchronized harmony. Amid this, the art of wood bending stood out as a critical practice. Ships like the famous HMS Victory, which fought in the Battle of Trafalgar, owed much of their strength and resilience to this technique. The ribs, frames, and planking of these mighty vessels were not just cut and hammered into place, but bent carefully to form the graceful curves that defined the hull. The process, from timber to frames. In the yard's timber sheds, the large oak trunks would be delivered from forests like the Weald of Kent or New Forest, where royal charters provided some of the finest timber. Seasoned shipwrights would inspect the logs for their grain and flexibility, selecting only the best for bending. Oak was favored because of its strength and resistance to rot, ideal for withstanding the salty, unforgiving ocean waters. The process of steam bending was one of the most effective ways to achieve the desired curvature without cracking the wood. Long planks or large timber pieces would be placed into steam boxes, where boiling water would fill the air with a thick mist. After an hour or more, the wood, now softened, was ready to be bent. Anecdotes of the Yard. One such craftsman, Thomas Timbers Harding, was known as one of the most skilled shipwrights in the yard. Legend has it that Thomas could tell how long a piece of wood needed to be steamed just by the smell of the timber. When the oak smells sweet as a summer meadow, he would say, then it's ready to bend. Harding was often seen leading a group of men, hoisting the pliable timbers from the steaming pits and quickly securing them around iron molds. The bending had to be done swiftly, before the wood cooled and lost its flexibility. Iron straps and clamps were then tightened around the timber, holding it in place until it dried into the curved forms that would later become the ribs of the ship. In his old journal, an entry from a naval officer named Captain Charles Parsons detailed a visit to Deptford Yard in 1779. Parsons, amazed by the skill involved, wrote, "I watched as the men wrestled with the steaming timbers like beasts. They were rough-hewn men, but they handled the wood with a gentle expertise, coaxing it into place. I marveled at the precision. No cracks, no splinters. These frames would carry the weight of cannons, the strain of the sea, and the wrath of battle, shaping the hull, where art met precision. Once the wood was bent and dried, it would form the ship's frames or ribs, the skeleton upon which the ship's hull would be built. The curve of the ribs was essential for the hydrodynamics of the ship, allowing it to cut through the water with efficiency. For the planking, thinner pieces of wood were bent to fit the outer shape of the hull, creating a watertight seal. It was said that John Boyd, a master carpenter at the time, could form planking so precisely that not a drop of water would seep through once the ship hit the ocean. Boyd's skills were famous across Deptford Yard, and it was common knowledge that if you wanted a ship that would last the long haul, you requested him for the planking. Challenges: bending the limits. However, wood bending was not without its difficulties. If the wood was overheated, it could become brittle and snap under the stress of bending. Similarly, If it wasn't steamed long enough, the fibers would not yield, resulting in cracks that could compromise the strength of the vessel. One of the greatest challenges was bending the thicker timbers for the ship's deck beams, which supported the upper structures. To manage this, shipbuilders sometimes used a technique called soaking, submerging the wood in water for days before bending. The evolution of ship design. By the late 18th century, as shipbuilding techniques became more advanced, the Deptford Yard was producing not only warships but also fast, agile frigates and merchant ships. These vessels, with their flexible, curved frames, could carry more cargo, sail faster, and remain seaworthy for years. HMS Indefatigable, a famed frigate, was an example of the superiority of British ship design, combining speed and firepower. Its curved hull, formed through careful wood bending, allowed it to outmaneuver larger ships in combat. Legacy of wood bending. Wood bending in the Deptford Yard symbolized more than just a technical achievement. It represented the skill, patience, and artistry that went into each ship. Every curve, every plank was a testament to the knowledge passed down through generations of shipwrights. This ancient craft, adapted to meet the needs of an empire, played a key role in shaping the destiny of Britain's maritime dominance. By the turn of the 19th century, iron ships began to replace wooden ones, but the legacy of wood bending lived on. To this day, the Deptford Yard and its craftsmen are remembered as innovators who took the ancient art of bending wood and turned it into a force for empire building. Reminiscences. In later years, former shipbuilders would gather in the taverns near the Thames and reminisce about their days in the yard. They would talk about the battles won and lost, but often the conversation would return to the ships themselves, their curves, their resilience, and the delicate art that went into creating them. "There's no finer sight," one old shipwright was overheard saying, "than seeing the timber bend to your will, knowing it'll sail the world's oceans long after we're gone." Wood bending in 18th century shipbuilding was more than just a technical process. It was the soul of the ship, a marriage of nature and human ingenuity that made the British Navy the envy of the world. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. To learn more about South Africa's leading accessibility software, visit www.polispeaks4u.co.za and support this meaningful dyslexic initiative. Thank you for watching.